Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the last meeting.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
Yes, Madam President, we'd like to pull item 11.2. We'd also like to pull item 15.62. And I would also like to move item 14.1 to 10.8. Moving item 14.1 and putting that item as 10.8.
Madam President, I move that the agenda be approved with the pulling of 11.2 and 15.62 and moving item 14.1 to item 10.8.
Second that?
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
It's on, you can hear it outside.
and that passes unanimously. 7.0, report out on action taken in closed session. 7.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. We received information. 7.2, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1. In a closed session by a vote of 4-0 with one absence, the board took action to reassign one principal to vice principal high school effective July 1st, 2023. 7.3, public employee performance evaluation, superintendent pursuant to Government Code 54957, and we provided our superintendent with a positive evaluation. 7.4, expulsion of student 12-23 from Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the expulsion of student number 12-23 to suspend the enforcement of the expulsion for student 12-23. The school placement will be determined by school services. Prior to the readmission, student number 12-23 is required to meet the following conditions: participate in 20 hours of counseling to address decision-making, goal setting, and academic success, show evidence of a successful school experience with no suspendable infractions, earn 30 credits, maintain a 2.0 GPA or better, and have a 90% attendance rate.
Second.
I think it's my mic is green, but I don't feel like I can. So, yeah, I keep saying like it's in front of green. Nobody wants to touch me. So we, okay, thank you. Did it a second, trustee Mayo? Yeah, now I hear myself. So we had a motion, a second, trustee Mayo. Oh, we do get, I thought this was voice. I'm sorry. Duh. You were waiting on me. That passes unanimously. Thank you. 7.5, existing litigation conference and with legal counsel, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 2 cases. Oh, we did not take action, did we? We received information, right? Okay. Okay. 8.0, public comments. The public may address the board regarding any item not on the agenda. Linda Pete.
Good evening,
Mhm.
Superintendent, Board President, board members, and audience. I'm here to share an event that's coming up for the Mount Diablo community. Our parents will be getting this information by Parent Square by the end of this week, but I wanted to take the opportunity to share it with the wider audience right now. We're doing a fentanyl awareness event to provide our community with facts and tools to save a life. There's 3 events. The first event will be July 10th at Ignacio Valley High School from 6 to 7:30. We will also be sharing similar information on August 12th at the parent conference event and again on August 24th. We're working with the committee. It's Kelly Perkins from Mount Diablo High School. We're working with the Contra Costa County Meds Coalition to provide our families with facts and information about fentanyl and the crisis that we're dealing with in the United States. We'll be providing training to our families on how to administer Narcan, and we will also be providing our families with Narcan at this event. We will be working with local businesses. We're working to recruit community members to share resources and how they can support students and student mental health. And again, July the 10th at Ignacio Valley High School, 6 o'clock. I have a draft of a flyer that I can share with you all today. And then once I have the final information, I can share that with you if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Frank Sterling.
Hello, how y'all doing? My apologies for last time I didn't remind you that y'all know about our Juneteenth event. That was one of the things I wanted to mention up here. And again, I wanted to thank Nava Flores and is it Alina for raising my cousin Timmy's voice in that newsletter and reaching back out to me. I'm sorry I missed the email because we could have connected at the Juneteenth and the Congressman's event. And again, I would like to urge you all to consider forming that committee when you all return to think about what to do with KVHS. And I would remind you to maybe look back from an email I might have sent you with the link to the after school program I did with the kids at Freedom High School to create the radio pilot show. If you haven't listened to that yet, please give that a listen. And I know, Ms. Flores, you're going to be out of your role, but maybe you could help us connect next year through the students. I understand you're still going to be here next year, as far as I know. And
She is just a junior or
good,
now a
good.
senior.
so maybe we can connect and at the high school, and maybe the students could help guide the way to bringing KVHS back into life for you all. And again, the show, if you go back and listen to it, was just like a 10-week after school program. I met with the kids once a week for 10 weeks and we created a pilot show that was supposed to air on a new low-powered station, but the station closed before they got on the air. Anyway, so again, I thank you. I urge you to form that committee so the community can be in touch. You know, I'm still with the SAVE KPFA community group. We still meet, and we're curious to know what you're all thinking, because I feel like we're still in the dark because we don't know a lot what's going on. If there's anything happening with DVC, we'd like to be, you know, participate in that. And again, hopefully we can connect with some students. And if there's a teacher that's willing out there, maybe we could do an after school thing and just do one little pilot show or something and just do baby steps to bring it back. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. 9.0 communications. 9.1 district organizations at regular board meetings. A single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. Really? 10.0 recognitions and resolutions. Oh, it's only seven. Oh, okay. 10.1 review and potential approval of resolution 22-2358 adopting recommendation by Concord High students to retire Minuteman mascot and adopt the mascot Bears as elected by the students.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to present this item. We have resolution 22/23-58. Resolution adopting recommendation by Concord High School student and administration to retire the Minutemen mascot and adopt the new mascot name Bears as chosen by the students. I'm just going to read the final piece of the resolution. The board adopts the recommendations of the Concord High School student body, which following extensive community input and discussion has decided to retire the mascot name Minutemen and related imagery and adopt the new name proudly selected by the Concord student body, the Bears. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you. Is there a motion, or do we have any? We've discussed this, so I think we're ready. Is there a motion? Oh, yeah, no, there's not.
Madam President, I'll move to approve resolution 22/2358, adopting recommendation by Concord High School students to retire the Minutemen mascot and adopt the mascot Bears as elected by the students.
We need a second. Do you want to second it? Yeah.
Second,
Trustee Nava Flores.
yes.
Now that we have a motion and a second, can we have discussion?
Oh, we could have had it before. I said it.
Oh, I thought you said it was there a second. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, before that, I said, is there any questions or discussion? And
Well, I
there
will
was
just
none.
briefly say I'm voting no, not because I have any interest in what the school calls themselves. I just felt that the process for this wasn't as thorough as the one was for Ignacia Valley High School.
I got no comments.
Oh, did I not ask? Oh, Trustee Nava Flores?
Vote.
Yeah, to vote.
Yes.
So we have a tie, and I have no idea so the motion does not pass. That's a shame, in my opinion. .2, I just want to thank you to the principal who had the leadership and the students who did the work, who had a greater voting participation than our public in the last presidential election. And thank you to the people who recognize that Minutemen is not necessarily an inclusive, proud image of American history, because that was one of the arguments, that Minutemen did not make my people free. 10.2, review and potential approval of board resolution 22/23-61 to authorize the award of summer contracts.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll just read a couple lines from this. Whereas timely award of various contracts is required to permit critical summer work, and whereas the current schedule of board meetings will result in delays in awarding bids or purchase orders. And now therefore be it resolved that the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District delegates its authority to the superintendent and/or his designee to make such awards pursuant to section 17604 of the California Education Code from the period from June 28th, 2023 to August 18th, 2023. However, no contract made pursuant to the delegation and authorization shall be valid or constitute an enforceable obligation against the district unless and until the same shall have been approved or ratified by the governing board. The approval or ratification to be evidenced by a motion by the board duly passed and adopted. So just in a nutshell, there's an item later on in the agenda that gives me the authority to also do contracts and also make temporary hires. This one is specifically around construction and maintenance that we're doing over the summer. So you'll hear something similar later on.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
I would make a motion that we approve board resolution 22/23-61 to authorize the award of summer contract.
Second,
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
that passes. 10.3,
Right. This is resolution 22/23-62, variable term waivers for CBES for 30-day substitutes. And we have Dr. Rubio if you have any questions.
questions or discussion? Entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move the board approve the variable term CBEST waiver for 30-day substitutes.
I'll
Res-
second that.
It's resolution 22.23, paren 62.
Seconded by trustee Mason. Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes.
Thank you.
10.4,
Resolution 22/23-63, resolution to establish temporary interfund transfers. I'm going to read the closing paragraph. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education supports, in accordance with the provisions of Education Code Section 42603, adopts the following authorization for fiscal year 22-23 to temporarily transfer funds between any and all funds, provided that all transfers are approved by the superintendent or his designee. Madam President, this resolution is now in the hands of the board.
any questions or discussion?
I would make a motion to approve resolution 22/23-63 to establish temporary interfund transfers.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes. 10.5,
Resolution 22/23-64, authorization to make year-end intra-budget transfer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education delegates its authority to the superintendent and/or the designee to make such transfers between the designated fund balance, assigned fund balance, or the unappropriated fund balance, and any expenditure classification or classifications or balance of any expenditure classifications of the budget of the district as necessary to permit the payment of obligations to the district incurred during the year 2022-23 pursuant to sections 35161 and 42601 of the California Education Code. Madam President, this resolution is now in the hands of the board.
questions? Motion?
Madam President, I'll move that the board approve resolution 22/23-64 authorizing year-end intra-budget transfers.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that passes. 10.6.
Madam President, I have resolution 22/23-65 designating certain general funds as committed fund balance. So in a nutshell, we are taking our fund balance and we're committing to these certain purchases that I will read off. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education hereby commits to utilizing portions of its general fund ending balance as indicated by the committed fund classification in its financial statements for the following purposes: $10 million for textbook adoption, $2.5 million for legal settlements, $12.9 million for LCAP supplemental carryover, $10 million for deferred maintenance. Be it further resolved that the district superintendent or their designee is hereby authorized and directed to finalize the amounts to be committed for the purposes directed above based on the unaudited actual financial report for fiscal year 2022-23, no later than September 13th, 2023. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22/23-65 designated certain general funds as committed fund balance.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that passes. 10.7.
Madam President, I present to you resolution 22/23-66 education protection account. Whereas the voters approved temporary sales and income tax increases with Proposition 30 on November 6, 2012, and voters approved Proposition 55 on November 8, 2016, which allowed the sales tax increase to expire in 2016 while extending the increased income tax rates through 2030. Now therefore be it resolved, in compliance with Article 8, Section 36E of the California Constitution, the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District has determined to spend the monies received from the Education Protection Act as attached. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board, and just for your information, it is of a total of $35.9 million.
Questions? Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move the board approve resolution 22/23-66 regarding the education protection account. And through this resolution, we declare our intended fund use for the 22-23-24 fiscal year.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that passes. Thank you. We did it. But for real, most of those resolutions were because we don't meet until the middle of August again, and the business still has to keep on going. And so it allows business to keep happening until we reconvene in August. 10.8.
10.8,
Yes,
which is
that's
the
you.
superintendent report. And Madam President, I wanted to move this item up just because we have some appointments coming up. And I really want folks who are joining our district or are coming in to new positions just to kind of get a brief snapshot of some of the things that took place during the last few months of the school year. I had promised this board at the last meeting to give you a year in review. to give a year in review of all that took place in the Mount Diablo Unified School District, we would be here to well past midnight, and we would have to extend the meeting twice. So so I just have a brief summary, and I will try to be as brief as possible, but we did have a lot going on. Next. So just want to start off with our LCAP goals. Goal number 1 is really going to be around creating a safe environment for all students, and all students will receive that high quality education, have equal access to technology and instruction in California state standards. Goal number 2 really centers around our staff, and that all staff will be of high quality, culturally proficient, and will be responsive, and will provide engaging instruction, respectful of all students and their backgrounds, preparing them for college and career. Goal 3 really centers around our parents, family, and community commitments, that they're going to be partners in making sure that we educate each and every student. And goal 4 is because we have certain student groups that have over several years not met the expectations from the state of California, nor within the district. And so we call out this goal to say that we will put resources and efforts to bringing up these students to where they need to be. We have our triangle that basically says the same thing. At the foundation of it is educational equity, making sure that every student has what he or she needs to be college and career ready. Learning acceleration, to make sure that we are accelerating learning and making sure that all students are receiving high quality and culture responsive instruction. And lastly, social emotional learning, making sure that we partner with our families, parents, and community. As I start this can just end the presentation right here. I think this picture really says it all, really says our commitment to all students, and that we are with them from the very beginning until they exit our organization. And so this is, you know, just again, this has been duplicated hundreds and hundreds of times, but I think this picture really captures the essence of what it is that we provide here in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. I also wanted to share this picture with all the just the narrative that's going on throughout the country. And really, if we as a district can fly this flag, and if it's going to make students feel safe to come to our schools, and make families feel accepted in our schools, and make employees feel accepted in our schools, then we most certainly will come together and fly this flag. So sticking with goal 1, with creating that environment where all students feel safe, this is our Ignacio Valley Robotics Club going off to they're at UC Davis at the robotics competition, and they look pretty engaged and pretty happy and pretty safe. This is a closer up version of some of our excellent robotics students from Ignacio Valley High School. This is Oak Grove Middle School, and they are using you know, the latest technology to learn algebra, and this is the prisms of reality, and it's learning math the way we're wired to, experience over memorize. So instead of just having students memorize facts, really teach them the spatial spatial concepts when it comes to algebra. And you can see that they're using the latest and greatest technology, and this was given specifically to Oak Grove, and we have that teacher there on the right who's leading these efforts over there, who is the math department chair over at Oak Grove Middle School. And you can see those students definitely are safe, definitely are being exposed to technology, and definitely are being exposed to grade level standards. Although this is extended learning, this is just another picture that just warms my heart about what our students are capable of. And you have older students reading to younger students. And just again, I could just sit and look at this picture all day. Here you have other spaces where our students are learning. You have students learning outside in the garden area. Those students are reading. and engaging with text. And then over on the other picture, you have middle school students who are in a safe space and who are sharing what they've learned and how they're feeling, and basically, expressing themselves during this activity at one of our middle schools. Here's another two pictures of our students in a safe place and students being able to express themselves. I know those of you who were at the Mount Diablo High School graduation and saw this young student play the national anthem on his electric guitar were mesmerized. And over on the right there, we have students from College Park who are, again, expressing themselves in a safe environment with instruments. Then as we get to adoptions, state standards and assessments, over the last year, we've adopted a new world language curriculum, new science, social studies was taken care of this year. Over the next couple of years, we're going to be taking on English language arts and math. We had a focus this year, professional development wise, on the grade level California state standards in math. Our assessment program, preparing students to take the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, our CAPS tests. We have our iReady. We have ESGI for our kindergartners and other grades, benchmark assessments for ELA, SLA, and math, and smarter balanced IABs, FIABs for ELA and math, and also our social emotional learning survey. It is critical that we provide local assessments so that we can use those assessments to guide our instruction and really determine what students need in terms of giving them what they need to be college and career. And so, so here is our academic programs and some of the work that's been done in the academic areas, and with the adoptions that this board has been committed to in making sure that all of our adoptions are up to date. And we're not quite there yet, but we are well on the way. And also, technology is within our goals. And here you have a teacher. The previous picture was also a teacher around the new boards that are going out into all of our schools and classrooms. But just over the last year or so, we're still doing a one-to-one student Chromebook program. All students have access to a Chromebook, which is theirs. Our technology department is doing technology maintenance on weekends, so not to disrupt what's going on. Network security measures at Dent. There's a lot of information here at this district office, and there's been several measures to ensure that that data is safe and that our students and our operations are safe from hackers and from other bugs that are out there. Our IT department does a tremendous amount of work around phishing and compromised accounts. This year, all schools received new Canon copiers, which was all included in our print services plan, where all schools and classrooms, if they had a printer, received new printers. So again, I mean, I don't know if you really quite understand the enormous undertaking to give every student a Chromebook, to deal with all the hackers and the bots and the phishing attempts out there, to have the foresight to update all of our copiers so that we're all on the same page under one contract, and to do the same with printers. And then not only that, to put one of these fabulous interactive digital panels in every school and every classroom is just quite an undertaking by our IT department, but it really does fit under that goal one of making sure that technology is infused in our day-to-day activities. As we go to goal two, and we're talking specifically about staff, because of the hard work of so many of our staff, teachers, classified staff, administrators, Golden Bell Awards for the second year in a row that the district has received. We've had 3 distinguished schools. We have a model continuation school, and our 2 high schools who went through WASC both received 6-year WASC accreditation. So just tremendous amount of work that's taken place by our staff. No secret, we have 2 teachers who are who are finalists for the County Teacher of the Year, Educator of the Year. And so, of course, we're very proud of these two and their accomplishments. We also have a classified employee who earned Classified Employee of the Year for the county, and just a tremendous individual. Actually spent some time with him in my office about a week ago, and just really hearing from him why he enjoys the work that he's done. He is retiring, and we'll be spending some more time gardening and doing honeydew things around the house and things of that nature. And then this, from our board meeting previously, this was all of our Classified Employees of the Year. And again, our district is a district made up of team members, and our employees are really the ones who lead all of our students. We also have one of our continuation school teachers who was continuation school teacher of the year, not only for our region, but also was recognized at the state level. We have a teacher there at the bottom there with me, or I was with her actually, and she received a distinguished award throughout the county, where there's only three individuals received that award, and one of them came from Northgate High School. And then also Medea did their annual awards, where they recognize just a whole host of employees, parent volunteers, teachers, classified staff, schools who have just done amazing things. So just lots to be proud of when it comes to our employees, and they're definitely we're meeting goal 2 of that LCAP. As we look at goal 3 and we look at our partnerships with our parents, communities, and families, this is Highland Elementary and their PTA, PFC. I'm not quite sure what is it, Trustee Mayo? PTA over there redid their library, and this was on their grand opening. We got to see if I can remember all these. Upper left-hand corner, that's Concord High School receiving scholarships from Rossmore. So that's a community partnership. Right below that, we have a family picnic put on by PTA over at Gregory Gardens. In that middle top, you have Northgate High School seniors sharing their community projects, which is a culmination of their work. Down there below, you have, I believe that's the Strandwood Library that received several of those books. Upper right-hand corner, that is a lemonade theme thing that was going on over at Highlands, put on by the parents. And bottom right-hand corner is a check being given to from Pleasant Hill mayor's office, city council office to over to some of our Pleasant Hill schools for their libraries. Left-hand corner, you got our African-American parent groups meeting. Bottom left, you have our students from Mount Diablo High School being trained in CERT, so being able to deal with community natural disasters. Upper right-hand corner, we have our partnership with Marathon and also UC Davis. This is a engineering summer camp, robotics camp. And then bottom right-hand corner, we got our College Park football team volunteering at a golf tournament, raising funds for athletic programs. Goal 4 under the dealing with students, really meeting the needs of our students who aren't progressing. We have a focal scholar program that we rolled out this year, and it is targeted to 6 schools. And the goals of the program is to provide extra academic support, social emotional enrichment, family engagement, and field trips to a set group of students to see if those extra efforts will improve their experiences and achievement in our schools. And it has definitely shown success and has proven to be a successful model. We always need to revamp and do better and be more clear and more intentional with our work. And I know that team is working on that. I want to be very clear, the Focal Scholar Program, they tend to think it's all African-American students, and it's not. So this is a ethnic breakdown of the the students who are participating. So as you can see, you have close to half are African-American, but a fourth are Latino. You have 5% white, you have 9% multiple, 3.7 Asian and Asian Indian, 6% other, and 4% declined to state. So again, these are students who were identified as a little bit of extra support would help them have a more positive educational experience. And again, at those 6 schools, teachers are paid an extra stipend for leading these students and shepherding these focal scholars. And again, here goes a couple pictures of the team and holding, again, staff development with staff, working with students, working with teachers, and then some of the students, I don't know, they were doing a project there. This is what it's all about. It really is about, all of these resources going towards our students so that when they leave us, that they are ready to take on this very complex and diverse world. And upper left-hand corner, you have Melissa Brennan, and she oversees several different programs, Prospect, Independent Study. And then bottom right-hand corner, you have our College Now students. On the left there, you have your Mount Diablo High School students. And on the right there, you have your College Park baseball players. So, Concord High, green. What was I thinking? Green. See, so that was just a snippet of some of the activities over the last couple months, how they align to our LCAP goals. I know I read those goals at every single meeting, but I didn't want to put a bunch of text on the screen and have you all read. So I thought I would tell the story in pictures. And again, I could talk all night about the accomplishments within this district, the great work of our students, the tremendous commitment of so many staff members, and then just our place in the community, the service that we provide to our parents, and the partnerships that we have with different community organizations. So with that, unless there's any questions, that'll conclude my superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments? Man, it's gonna be easy night.
Yeah, we're rolling. It's still early.
Where are we?
We are on
11.
11.1. So I'm going to bring forward, I know we don't have Mr. Sheehy here tonight. We got Dr. Rubio, but again, I want to give a just hats off to the HR department. They have been interviewing like crazy, reference checking, recruiting, getting people to come on board here. And we're so fortunate to have, so many new folks joining our team. And again, lots of, I don't know what the word is. What is it? Lots of hands make the work easy, right? So the many hands. So Dr. Rubio, you got some more hands for us to lead this work?
I have some more hands.
Hopefully I got you inspired by those pictures, right?
I am.
You're inspired? All right,
Absolutely.
good. Let's bring them on.
All right, so
Good.
we're gonna start with 11.1. The Human Resources Department is bringing for your review and potential approval the appointment of Tamika McCauley as principal at Bel Air Elementary School. Ms. McCauley, please, thank you for standing. Tamika is entering her 22nd year in education. She has a bachelor's degree in elementary education, a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, a specialist of arts and educational leadership, and a doctorate in educational leadership. She relocated to the Bay Area from Kansas City and is a proud parent of 2 school-age children and very excited to be potentially serving the Bel Air community. With that, I leave this appointment in your hands.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve this person to my alma mater, Bel Air, where I went to school. So I make a motion to approve the appointment of Tamika McCauley as the principal of Bel Air Elementary School in Bay Point.
Second,
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
Welcome, Principal McCollum.
Come up. Yeah.
Ms. McCauley, come on up for a second. Let's have you come up for a second. No pressure.
Good evening, Madam Board President, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Clark. Thank you for the appointment as new principal of Bel Air Elementary. I am so excited to begin the year this fall. Great year of learning ahead, and so looking forward to sharing more good news. Thank you.
Very excited to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 11.2. Sorry.
11.3, or it's
Thank you.
11.2.
The HR department is bringing for your review and potential approval, the appointment of Nishan Williams as vice principal at Concord High School. I don't think Nishan's in the room tonight. Nishan has 19 years of experience in education, which includes working in elementary, middle, and adult education. The last 5 years as a middle school math teacher, a bachelor's degree in liberal arts, and a master's degree in public administration, and an 11-year-old and 7-year-old. And with that, I leave this appointment in your hands.
May I get a motion?
Madam President, I move the board approve the appointment of Nishan Williams to serve as a vice principal at Concord High School.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
welcome to Vice Principal Williams.
Thank you. The HR department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval, the appointment of Carissa Stobing as vice principal at Oak Grove Middle School. Carissa has been a teacher at Ignacio Valley High School for 21 years and has a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's degree in educational leadership. Really believes in creating a school that nobody wants to leave and is very excited of the possibility to be at Oak Grove Middle School as vice principal. With that, I leave this in your hands.
May I get a motion?
Madam President, I move the board approve the appointment of Carissa Strobing as vice principal at Oak Grove Middle School.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
welcome.
Hi, good evening. I'm very excited for this opportunity. I've worked at Ignacio Valley High for 21 years. And so I'm excited to further my career and work with the same community and population and families. And I'm just super excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Make sure I get my numbering right. Next, 11.5, is that right? Do I have it? Yes, 11.5. I'm very excited about this one as well. Sometimes we meet candidates in our system and like we just had, and we get very excited. I actually ran into this candidate in a mock interview with the county as she was completing her program, and I've been hounding her for months. Danya Townsend is under the weather, could not be here tonight, but I'm very excited that she has the opportunity to be back at Riverview, where she worked for many years. And she has most recently been an Olympic, where she teaches PE, weight training, leadership, dance, and has run activities and coached volleyball. She has a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and is completing her master's degree in December in applied school leadership. And while she's not working, she enjoys time with family and going on adventures. So with that, I leave this in your hands.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Danya Townsend to Riverview Middle School as vice principal. And I'll look forward to seeing her there again.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you. Item 11.6, HR department is bringing for your review and potential approval the appointment of Emilio Perdomo as social work specialist. I don't think Emilio was able to make it tonight. Okay. Emilio is a social worker, mental health therapist. He's spent 20 years working in child welfare and behavioral health and has a passion for working with the LGBTQ and foster youth community. He holds a bachelor's degree in ethnic studies and a master's of social work with a concentration in children and families. Emilio is a first generation Salvadorian who was raised in the Bay Area, and I bring this to you for your approval.
Madam President, I'll move that the board approve the appointment of Emilio Cardona as our social work specialist.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And welcome.
Thank you very much. The 11.7, the HR department is bringing to you for your review and potential approval, the appointment of Kelly Hoover as curriculum specialist. Ms. Hoover, Kelly has been in education for the past 20 years and most recently as an instrumental music teacher in San Ramon Valley, where she has directed orchestras and bands for the past 4 years. She was previously an administrator for 3 years in San Ramon and MDUSD. She has a bachelor's degree in music and master's degree in educational leadership, and enjoys spending time and traveling with her husband and twin daughters. So with that, I leave this appointment in your hands.
Madam President, I move the board approve the appointment of Kelly Hoover as the curriculum specialist in Mount Diablo Unified School District.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good evening, Superintendent Clark and members of the board. Thank you so much for this opportunity and welcoming me back to MDUSD. I look forward to working with the arts programs here in Mount Diablo. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, item 11.8, the HR department is bringing for your review and potential approval, the appointment of Shauna Pumas as a social work specialist. Great, wonderful. Shauna has worked in education for 15 years and began her career as a middle school and high school counselor in Capistrano Unified. She's been a school counselor in 2016 at Riverview Middle School, Foothill Middle School, Mount Diablo High, and Oak Grove Middle. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in social work, and a second master's degree in educational counseling. Shauna also holds a doctorate in clinical psychology. She was raised in the Bay Area and lives with her fiance and 15-year-old twin daughters and their 3 dogs. So she's passionate about mental health and has a love for learning. And with that, I give this appointment in your hands.
Madam President, I'll move that the board approve the appointment of Shauna Pumas as a social work specialist.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Clark. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I wanted to have a special thanks to Felicia Stuckey-Smith for this opportunity, and also Stephanie Roberts and Felicia for guiding me over the last 7 years. I'm really proud to work in the school district. I love how many support programs we have, and I'm happy to be supporting this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, this next item, item 11.9. You'll see later on in the agenda, and I'll speak about it then, but we do have a resignation from our current CBO, Dr. Gonzalez, and I will be thanking her for her service later on in the agenda. But tonight I am bringing to the board a recommendation to appoint Adrian Vargas as our next CBO, and also with his a one-year contract. I just briefly want to just explain why this is coming to you as an appointment. It is June 28th, and this year in Contra Costa County alone, the Brentwood Union School District, the Liberty Union School District, the Oakley Union School District, the Orinda Union School District, and the county office all hired CBOs. And so to go out throughout the process for posting, interviewing CBOs at this time, I did not feel that we would find the highest quality candidate. So I am bringing in Adrian Vargas as recommended tonight. He's been a CBO for the Dixon Unified School District, for the Vallejo City Unified School District. He was just most recently Assistant Superintendent for Business Services in the Sacramento City Unified School District, and again have shared his resume and documents with this governing board. And so tonight I bring to you Adrian Vargas as our next CBO.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the employment agreement and appointment of Mr. Adrian Vargas as Chief Business Officer for Mount Diablo Unified School District for years 23-24.
Second.
Does Trustee Nava Flores vote on this? Oh, I know, but I'm like, this is a contract. I just don't know. Sometimes, right. Okay, Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
Sorry. And that passes.
Mr. Vargas is out of town with his family, celebrating 2 graduations, and he will be here next week.
12.0 or 12.1, ABAR, Anti-Bias, Anti-Racism Advisory Committee presentation. Welcome.
Dr. Stuckey Smith, before we start, I want to give our newly appointed folks, I want to give you the opportunity to escape.
They should stay for ABAR
Well, some of them, yeah, okay.
and
Some may want to
CAC.
stay.
They should stay for CAC as well.
Yes, so, yes. Great. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Stuckey Smith, continue. This is videoed and recorded, so it's gonna live forever. So we will be able to
Which
see
way
it.
to go on the clicker, though?
I usually just start pressing. There you go.
Oh, watch out.
See that? No directions needed.
Right.
Right.
Just don't put the buzzer on me. Good evening, Madam President of the board members, wonderful superintendent, Dr. Clark, all my committee members that are in the audience, and friends and our community. Today, I'm so excited that I get the opportunity to share with you about our ABAR committee. And I'm gonna go through it as quickly as possible and hope that you enjoy this presentation as well. So our ABAR committee actually started in March 2021, and I want to just take you up to where we are as it relates to June 2023. We started with invitations, we had monthly Zoom meetings, we've had courageous conversation surveys, we've had our now in-person meetings, and then we had presentations that brings us to now action items. 2 years ago, we established our mission statement, and I've included it here just for review. We also have our goals and our norms, group norms, which I've also included and shared last year. But this particular school year, I want to just take you through our meetings
that we had. So in February, excuse me, in September 22nd, we just met to recap and discuss an update. Well, what happened at the June 22nd board meeting? And that's when the first presentation was actually given. Our next meeting was in October 18th, and that was the Hispanic Heritage Month. And we had the pleasure of inviting 4 of our Latinx counselors to come, and we were on Zoom at that time, but they actually shared what it's like to be a Latinx counselor in Mount Diablo, 1, and 2, some of the ways in which they felt that they needed to advocate for our students and be the voice to disrupt racism or racist practices that they were seeing happening in our schools. That then followed by our March 15th meeting. And if you remember in February, which was Black History Month, we had a couple of incidences in our schools that we weren't very proud of, but we wanted to look at how do we address some of those incidences. So our topic was, how are we addressing racism in Mount Diablo Unified School District? So we had a couple of presentations. We had a presentation by our equity counselor, Adriel Briscoe, as well as he brought one of the professors from the community college, Dr. Frank Ortega, to share what they're doing at the college, as well as how he wants to partner with us as a district, and also in preparing our students who are deciding to go to the college, but the relationship that we were building. Then in April, we had a presentation as it relates to using equity lens when we're addressing diverse curriculum that's taught in our schools. And we had our 2 curriculum specialists who are in the audience, Susan Harwick and Megan Sweetgertz. We had them come and present and just share with us through the equity lens, how are we addressing adoption of curriculum or adoption of textbooks, or as it relates to our supplemental materials and supplies. They shared a wealth of knowledge and let us know sort of the practices and policies, procedures, how they even set up a committee, how they focus on many of the diverse authors and literature. So it was a wonderful presentation. And then we also had a retired COSA named Kathy Flores, who shared some of the great work that they were doing at Cambridge as it relates to culturally responsive teaching. We then got a request from the committee, well, what is happening with our English learners? So we then, on our May 17th meeting, had a wonderful opportunity to see how we are supporting our English learners in our schools. And we then invited, so our English learner and dual language programs department, and they did a wonderful presentation. And that was with Carmen Garces, who's our director of the English learner support, as well as Kathy Fireman, who is assistant director. And then we had our secondary EO support teacher, Amy Fritz, and they too did a wonderful presentation. So what happened after we all met in the presentation and we found out ahas in our district and all the wonderful things that are going on, what we decided to do next is to come forth to our board and go back to what really was our function as a committee. And that's where we are, through our combined efforts of staff, students, and community members in our committee, we are collectively developing actionable steps. And these actionable steps are for the work needed to continue to transform our system and policies and make recommendations to the governing board on issues related to bias, racism, and equity. So tonight, what I like to share, we decided not only doing recommendations, but also accommodations. because of the presentations, because of the work that has been done, and we're seeing some good work in our district. We wanted to start with accommodations and then look for next year some recommendations. So starting with the Board of Education, along with our Educational Service and School Support Department, Human Resources Department, and then I was brave enough to allow them to do student services as well. We left a few off, but we're going to include them for next year as well. So look out, Wendy, we're going special ed next year. We're going to go technology, we're going to go fiscal in that sense. Accommodations, heartfelt. First and foremost, thank you, Dr. Clark, for your leadership as it relates to your vision, as it relates to your support of all students, as it relates to our LCAP goals. What was very evident is that we as a district are looking at our practices, we're looking at our procedures, and we're making some really significant changes. I wanted to highlight 3 board policies, but we know that we actually adopted hundreds of new board policies, but the 3 that come to mind is Board Policy 0415 with equity, Board Policy 4030, non-discrimination in employment, Board Policy 5145.9, hate motivated behavior. Want to thank you for the resolution that you passed at the last board meeting, Resolution 22-23, and it looks like that's the 59th resolution that we did for this school year. There were probably about 10 others I could have highlighted, but wanted to highlight this one because it directly relates to the work of the ABAR committee, and that's in support of anti-racism. And finally, we want to do that accommodation as we are going to acknowledge that we know that you held 2 town hall meetings. We even put the dates, if it's right, February 21st and May 16th, how you invited the community and the families. You wanted to hear their concerns, and in particular, concerns around bias, inequalities, racism that's happening at individual sites. So with that said, we want to start with accommodations to you. We then went to our Educational Services Department, English learners, our dual language programs, equity, MTSS, and school support, which a lot of our discussion focused on what's happening there. And so our first accommodation, I won't read all the way through it, but it was to our EL department and the work that they're doing and looking at the success and growth of the needs of our English learners. We looked at our equity department, and we have our assistant director in the audience, also on the committee, give you a shout out, that the ongoing support that was given to our elementary and secondary principals there and go on. We also want to give special recognition to Susan and Megan for their support in launching ethnic studies here in our district at our high school level. Then again with Megan and Susan for their great work as they were revising, and probably talk about later, the MDUSD secondary supplemental literature and nonfiction reading list for grades 6 through 12. And also in presenting to us the ABAR committee. Our next accommodation was to Kathy Flores, as I shared with you, and the support she's providing teachers at Cambridge Elementary School. And then I don't know what happened to number 6, but I'm moving to number 7. Just in case you didn't see, no, Dorothy probably took my number 6. But we actually had a consultant come in, and Dr. Shelley Jones-Holt in providing and her leadership and support and leading with an equity lens. That professional development, we felt that was very powerful and appreciative. But we have a few recommendations, just a few. So the first recommendation we would like to see with our Educational Services Department is that schools include in their single plan for student achievement and their comprehensive safety plan, where and how they're addressing issues and incidents related specifically to bias, racism, and inequities. So we're naming those 3 areas that we would like to see, and some of them do have that information, but across the board to have all of our schools include that. We want to ensure that teachers assigned to ethnic studies receive ongoing professional development. So to develop their capacity to teach a course with fidelity. As it is coming into our schools, we think that that would be a very good recommendation. Then Cambridge Elementary, when we look at the model that they use in terms of culturally responsive teaching, we want it to be considered, if this is a good model, maybe this is a model that can be used for other schools. And that's just, again, a suggestion. And again, our curriculum specialists explore opportunities to provide ongoing professional developments to sites as they continue their work with literature. So thank you, Educational Services Department, and all the stars that shine there. Our Human Resource Department, where's Dr. Rubier? You let him go too early. Okay, he's listening. There's 2 things we really want to shine a light on and give accommodations in the area of our HR. Is last year we made the recommendation about looking at a model strategies for recruiting and recruiting teachers, highly qualified staff that reflect the rich diversity of our students and family. 3 points that we wanted to show that they actually listened and are actually making that effort with the flyers that they're sending out, even the diversity in the people on the flyers, even interviewing teachers and having teachers share why they like teaching in our district. We felt that that was worth noting. They're attending their recruitment fairs, hiring fairs, and we now have a new system called Talent Ed, in which we're using as we're not only recruiting, but we're actually hiring. And that particular system is a quicker turnaround than we had before, and hopefully keeping in those highly qualified candidates. We had a strong recommendation for an anti-bias training as a condition of employment. They are recommending that we use Keenan Safe Schools anti-bias training, which is available in their module. And we're looking at having that start, hopefully, Dr. Clark, with us coming back.
That
for
was in
staff.
our resolution we passed
Right.
last week.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
happening.
it.
Yeah.
So we're keeping it in ours. Thank you so much. But we have some recommendations, just a few. One is giving, again, priority to highly qualified staff and serving in some underserved schools, schools, keeping that a top priority. We talk about it, but we want to make sure that that continues. One of the things, and then to keep exploring opportunities of retaining highly qualified staff that reflect the diversity of the students. So not only just hiring them, but also retaining them. So how are we, and what practices are we using to retain? The next 2 came, recommendations came from several people on our committee. One of the things that felt is that we need to remove hiring barriers by updating the classified candidates test so that the tests that they take align to the position that they're being hired for. And we had specific examples, what I didn't give on here, but there are specific tasks that are asked of staff to be able to complete, that task is not what they're going to be doing in their job, because we're now more modernized and more technology in that sense. You can't hear me? I've got my insult voice. Oh, all my BFFs in the audience. Okay, so, and the last one we're seeing is that we're asking HR to reconsider the salary schedule by honoring new hirees credit for total years of experience. Because right now we're capping at 14 years for teachers and counselors. And there have been some very highly qualified candidates that we have selected and recommended, but chose not, gotta stay over here. I need one on me so I can walk around. I'll make it fast. Okay. That choose not to come to our district because it would be a pay cut. So we're just asking them to reconsider not capping at the 14 years of experience. Moving on. All right, student services is our last one. Accommodations, of course, as we work as a team. But giving credit to, when I talked about our counselors, the four counselors actually started presenting what's called Coffee with the Counselors. And they had two events, one at Mount Diablo High School as well as Shore Acres. And these chats were open to families to come that lived within the Mount Diablo feeder pattern. And with that event gave an opportunity for more family engagement. And so we want to commend them for that and taking that on. And next year, they're actually going to do 4, one per quarter. And then the second one, I don't know how that got up there, but Felicia Stuckey-Smith, who's the Director of Student Services, is updating our behavior matrix. And in updating it, has been working collaboratively with 2 other people. That's Stephanie Roberts, who's in the audience, as well as Jorge Mendoza with our equity department. And what we did this year was to not only have our behavior matrix, but we incorporated our MTSS framework, as well as our equity practices into our matrix, and then also provided 3-day professional training to onboard new counselors and new social work specialists, where we are trying to build a community and develop equity lenses to address issues related to bias and equities and racism. But there's a recommendation for the department, and I just love it because it just gives me the work to do that I love doing. And that's to provide ongoing training to administrators to address and document student incidences as around racial slurs, because we have not necessarily documented them, but we want to document them as it relates to racial slurs, hate, violence, and implicit bias. And in documenting them, we're also going to be addressing them. So that's a training that I'm looking forward to having for all administrators. And then also providing training and resources at school where we're seeing chronic absenteeism and suspension rates at a higher rate for students that are not succeeding. So those are our recommendations. And with that said, we have recommendations for all in case we missed some of you out there. We want our district to create a gold standard. And part of our gold standard is having a theme. And this is a theme suggestion, like be kind as employees of our district, be respectful and be responsible. And then when we talk about our lingo, when we meet people or we're on the phone, welcome. How can I help you? Thank you for calling, and just have all these pleasantries that we provide to let people know that we really respect them, want them, and encourage them to stay in our district. So with that said, I want to thank everyone for their support of the ABAR Advisory Committee. I want to thank those out there that are on the ABAR. They're smiling. See them all? Did you turn the camera, Dr. Clark, so you can see my audience? But anyway, thank you so much. And we appreciate the fact that we exist and have your ear to the work that we see needs to be done and has been done in our district. Are there any questions?
I just want to thank you for all the work that you're doing, all the services that we want to implement, and seriously how this is all going back to addressing the generational issues that have been ongoing and disrupting that, creating that change and creating that disruption where we really are working to creating an inclusive and representative and equitable school district. So thank you so much, Mrs. Stuckey Smith and Dr. Stuckey Smith. Mrs. Stuckey Smith? Okay, just getting it right. Let me get it. And all the work that you do and all the work that all your people do. Thank you.
And I would just like to, I went to all the meetings this year, I believe, and they were really good meetings with good discussion. So Dr. Smith did a really good job of getting people to come that had a lot to say and share with us. So felt like time well spent.
I also just want to quickly add that I really look forward to partnering up with the Student Advisory Committee and the ABAR Committee. In the future, I have close contact with the student board member, and they're definitely on board with this. And reflecting back with one thing that you mentioned, where we start documenting the usage of racial slurs or any derogatory terms. And that really does, again, going back to the student perspective and creating that welcoming environment, but also learning addressing the action. So definitely, again, since this deals with the students, we're definitely on board to collaborating in the future. Thank you.
I look forward.
I'll just say thank you so much. Thank you for your work the last 2 years. I think evidenced in this presentation is a shift in culture within the district that we probably wouldn't have seen a presentation like this prior to 2020, ideas like these prior to then, and people are, what do you always say, courageous conversations. People are being feel the safety to be courageous in their thought and actions. So I'm really happy and proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Well, 12.2 Community Advisory Committee. Was there an action that Dr. Stuckey Smith?
You want us to take action on the report?
Oh, the report. Oh, sorry. Or accept it. Well, we can't. Well, I don't. We can receive the report though, right? Yeah. Yeah. So a motion to accept the report.
Madam President, I'll move that the board accept the Anti-Bias, Anti-Racism ABAR Advisory Committee report.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that passes. Thank you. Thank you so much for your work. Now, community at CAC. Welcome, Dorothy.
Yes, I did take number 6.
Ah,
Just kidding. Anyway, due to technical difficulties, my presentation is not up there. So with that said, my name is Dorothy Weisenberger and I'm the Community Advisory Committee Chair of the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Thank you for having me tonight, Superintendent Clark, Board President, board members and audience. I just wanted to go over one thing about what the Community Advisory Committee, where's my phone? There we go. The Community Advisory Committee purpose is, because we don't say it enough and you guys hear CAC. And so I just wanted to put it out there for the board to know exactly what we do. The purpose of the Community Advisory Committee is to provide the school district staff and board education with advice, recommendations regarding the district's special education programs and resource allocation to respond to the needs and concerns of students with exceptional needs and their families, and to educate the community about disabilities and special education and assist the district in providing a free and appropriate education for all students. So with that said, we had a very busy year. We're small but mighty. And so August 7th was our first meeting and we approved our new executive board and the meeting dates in our speaker series. August 13th, the CAC had a information table at the MTUSD parent conference. And we also did a presentation for one of the breakout sessions. We also, so we're going to go into our speaker series on September 6th. We had mental health, which box is your box? Presented by Jessica Poses, the Assistant Director of Special Education and Mental Health. Ms. Poses explained the tiered levels and intervention available for students to mitigate the symptoms in order to access their academics in a school environment. The supports are need-based. On October 4th, we had our Board of Education Candidate Forum. Congratulations to Board Member Linda Mayo, excuse me. Yeah, you're a doctor, okay. Board Member Deborah Mason and Sharice Cowan, who's not here tonight. It was our first time doing it in on a professional with the help of the technology. And thank you for letting us use your boardroom. It was I hope it was better attended online than it was in person, but you know, maybe next year. Anyway, so moving on to November 8th, 2022, we had our inclusion presentation and our program specialist, Jessica Phillips, did the presentation. And on December 6th or November 15th, don't want to miss that one, You Make a Difference Award, Lifetime Achievement Award. And we gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Denise Lambert, who was on the CAC for multiple years and has done amazing things on multiple committees. And we recognized her for her not only accomplishments, but her giving of her time to us. Moving on to December 6th, we had the holiday social. So our holiday social consisted of games and activities for kids and parents to do with each other. And it was not very well attended, and I'm hoping next year we can get the word out and make sure it's better attended. We represented all the different holidays. So we made sure that we had Kwanzaa, we had I don't want to say the words because then it might offend some people. So I just want to say we did represent all the holidays, and we did have Santa Claus there. So anyway, that was the word I didn't want to say, but I said it anyway. We had gracious people that volunteered that night, and I owe it to my family for that one. So I'm going to give a shout out to my family for all they did that night. January 10th, we had a presentation on what is ABAR, what is DLAC, and other parent partner groups. We went over their purpose and what they actually do and what they represent for our district. February 7th, 2023, we went over legislative day priorities. We went into breakout sessions. We wanted to hear from the parents in the community on what they wanted when they would look at bills and what they wanted us to represent when we went to Ledge Day in May to the state. So that was very well, we got a lot of good advice and a lot of support from the community members. And moving on to March 7th, we had the supporting executive functioning with our presenter, our behaviorist, Jenny Carvalho, which we really appreciated. It was very well attended. It's a big hot button topic for our parents. And on April 11th, we had dyslexia supports for students, also very well attended, and the presenter was Kathy Butterman. On May 2nd, we had LCAP, and Jennifer Sachs was our presenter. And on the very next day, we went to Ledge Day, May 3rd. We had 5 members of CAC come. We also had board member Linda Mayo there, and Dr. Wendy Agili was there. leading the way. And we had two new members that went for the first time, or no, three that went for the first time. It was very exciting to see new people start to lead the group. So I could sit back and watch and be in awe of the new representatives for CAC. May 17th, celebration of success, favorite time of the year. When we recognize our students, they're celebrated and recognized. And we had students from 37 different school sites recognized at that event, and it was very well attended. We also, I want to say we had a meeting today, June 28th, summer planning meeting. We went over new topics. We're trying to change it up and get some new topics out there, what we think is hot ticket items for what parents and community want to hear and learn. And we're excited for the upcoming school year, and we are going to be working on parent engagement. And we are also adding 2 new events. In September, we're going to have a family event in the afternoon for parents and community members and their kids. And also we'll have our December event too. And then we're going to have another event in February. February, we're going to be doing, we're going to talk about diversity, and we're going to have a meeting and celebrate diversity. And then in April, we're still working on it. So we do have things planned, and we will be again at the parent conference this August, and we will continue to support our exceptional students, all exceptional students, both that have an IEP and that don't. And with that said, I hope you accept my presentation.
Thank you. It's not listed as an action item, so we can't, yeah, so we don't get to vote, but we did hear everything you said and appreciate it and appreciate all the hard work you and your fellow volunteers do to keep this going and provide support to families throughout the year. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? I was going to do a public comment, but I forgot to turn in my card. Is it okay if I say
And link it to the topic at hand?
Yes,
Mhm.
it's linked to the topic at hand. There's a family that in the Mount Diablo School District who have 4 exceptional students, and they're all adopted. And I just want to say this hasn't been an easy road for them, but thanks to the district. They are now, one of their students is being supported in a new environment and is excelling. And even though it was a long road for them and it was a hard road for the district to, for them to navigate the IEP, I want to say that I want to thank the district for everything that they've done for all our students, but especially for this family. And sometimes, when it costs money to do things, but in this situation, you made a family whole again. So I want you guys to know there's good work being done out there in special ed. Thank you.
I have one comment.
Thank you. Trustee
Dorothy,
Mayo?
would you share where the information is posted from the presentations for the various topics that you announced?
Yes, we're going to be putting them on the special ed website, and we have a Facebook page too. And we also are going to try this year. We talked about it today. We're going to start asking the school sites to put them up on their calendars. Thank you.
Thank you. 13.0 board member reports. I'll start up to my right with Trustee Mason.
I've been too busy to do anything but garden.
That sounds perfect. Like a great cold June. Trustee McFerrin.
I do not have a report tonight, but I do just wish that everyone has a great summer.
Thank you. Trustee Mayo.
I'm in a similar situation. I wish everyone at least one day of total rest. And I hope to see you all back when we have our first board meeting in August. And this is a very busy time for nonprofit organizations that support our schools. We're closing out books. We're preparing for audits and tax filings. So thank your volunteers and the nonprofit organizations that are supporting our schools. Thank you.
Before I go to trustee Nava Flores, I'll read, trustee Count couldn't be here today, but she sent a short message that she'd like me to read. It says, I'm sorry that I cannot attend tonight's meeting. So, oh, she put in her thing, she asked Dr. Clark to read this brief report, but she emailed it to me. So here, this is what she gets. Oh, you do? Do you want to read it? Yeah, she put your name in it, but she emailed it to me. Go ahead.
In the words of trustee Count, I'm fully confident in my colleagues to execute tonight's business with integrity and transparency, and I want to congratulate and welcome all the newly appointed employees. I also participated for the last 2 days in the district strategic planning for the arts. And so I want to thank facilitator Peggy Burt, organizer Susan Hartwig, and all the district leaders, educators, parents, students, and community partners who participated for their creative and collaborative drafting of the plan. We are hopeful and excited about expanding arts offerings to our students. Tonight, I'm flying to Israel/Palestine on a trip hosted by JCRC that I was invited to join along with school board members and superintendents from across California. I want to be clear that the purpose of this trip is not indoctrination or with any expectation of us to take any particular action when we return. Rather, it is to educate us from many perspectives in that region, including Palestinians and Israelis from various religions and political viewpoints, and in various territories, including a refugee camp. My hope is that this will deepen my understanding of the complexities of the pursuit of peace and justice for all there. After I return, I will share my reflections and will be happy to discuss with and hear from any of our educators, students, or families that are interested in how we address these histories and present-day realities in our educational system. Lastly, I want to thank and congratulate our student board member, trustee Nava Flores, for their professionalism and productivity as part of our board team this year. You brought in essential student perspectives that enriched so many of our board actions. Thank you and have a great meeting. Trustee Count.
Thank you. Trustee Nava Flores.
Thank you. For Sharice that'll look at this afterwards. Thank you so much for your kind words. Really want to quickly thank Sharice for being one of the first to get in contact with me and also being in touch with me consistently throughout my term and help guide me throughout this journey and help connect me with other students, other community members. And I want to take the opportunity to also thank Dr. Clark for doing the same thing, always being there, or being a phone call away. Trustee Nzewi, President Nzewi, for always believing in me and giving me the words of encouragement that I needed when it was a really tough time, and for always making me feel like I belong. And I really appreciate my time that I have here with the board. Trustee McFerrin for being a teacher, knowing what it's like to be in the classroom, in the student setting. Trustee Mason being a part of the Bay Point community and representing, and your dedicated passion for education and making sure that our community, our side of town is represented the right way and being included into all the talks. And of course, Trustee Mayo for being so knowledgeable, being so sweet, being so inviting all the time. And also thank you to all the other community members that I've met along this way. I want to give a special shout out to Ari Oliveira, who has also helped me throughout this journey. And most importantly, thank my family that has learned as I went, and giving me all the support, all the words of encouragement, and always my mother specifically always reminding me to bring in my culture, my heritage, and always representing my community and making sure that I am bringing my voice to the table, but also bringing the voice that has been, that the voices that have been silent. So I just want to really like quickly reflect on everything that we've accomplished this school year and that we continue to work on. I am proud and honored to have served this year as the Mount Diablo Unified School District board member for the 2022 to 2023 school year, and also being proud of being able to be a change maker, a leader, and a representative for my school, mi comunidad y todos los estudiantes en nuestro distrito. And I will continue to involve myself in all the work that I have started. I plan to reach out to Mrs. Hartwig and continue the ethnic studies work, the social studies, diversification, and continue to also change the way that we run SAC and be it more inclusive. I've worked so far with the future student board member, Susana Barrios, who will actually start her term officially in 2 days. So congratulations to Susana. And again, just want to thank you all, everyone that I've met, and everyone a part of this district. Dr. Clark once said that when we think about the Mount Diablo Unified School District, it's more than just the superintendent and the board members. It's the people here in the district office. It's our teachers, it's our principals, it's our staff, it's our student, and it's the people in our community. And I want to thank all of them for allowing me to have this opportunity, and also be appreciative of this experience. So I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm a junior, so well, technically now a senior. But I'll be back, and they'll definitely hear my name, see my name maybe on a voting ballot. Who knows? But definitely this is something that has been a blessing and has been an ongoing learning experience. So that concludes my last and final board report. Thank you to everyone.
Last and final, as a student, board report.
As a point of privilege, trustee Nava Flores asked that we take a photo before we're all haggard from the evening. So could we take a 30-second break?
Can I
Take
do a
quick-
comment first?
Oh, yes. of
I
course.
just, yeah, I actually didn't do my board report, which
Oh,
is,
I'm sorry.
it's okay, which is wholly focused, but it's relevant. Like, before we do that, is trustee Nava Flores. You are brilliant and kind and compassionate and righteous, and so firm in who you are and the space that you take up, and you take up all that you deserve, which is something that we should all aspire to. And you make me feel like as we look at what goes on around our world and how the awful things that happen in our world, but also in our country, in our communities right here. Although it's not all okay today, it makes me very knowing you and knowing who you are, and only I can't even dream of who you will be, because it's going to be more amazing than I can imagine. Makes me feel like, okay, we're going to be all right. And the worst thing about this board deciding, or it passing, having 3 years ago, to have a student board member, is that we only get to keep each of you for 1 year and have to say goodbye. And it's literally just too short. And I hate that. But we are truly blessed to have had the privilege of serving with you this year. So thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, we'll break.
That was it.
That was it.
Happy summer, safe summer. Yeah. Oh, well, I did do the art strategic plan that Sharice did. I could only go to half a day, but amazing. Another thing to be proud of. Thank you.
Where does she want the picture? Down here? You want this to come down there?
Fifteen point zero. Consent.
Madam President, before we approve the consent item, I just want to make a comment on 15.3, but I don't want to pull it. So if I could just take
Please
30
do.
take 30 seconds to make a quick comment. On this docket is the resignation of Dr. Lisa Gonzalez, our CBO. And she is pursuing some other opportunities, and we really do wish her the best. But I just want to thank her for her service to the district. She came in at a difficult time. She had to make some very, very difficult decisions, and those are not always popular. But she did those decisions, and she took responsibility for those decisions. And along with that, she also really tried to build leadership within her department, and was fierce in protecting the integrity of those who served under her. So with that, I really want to wish her the best, and hopefully she continues all her success. So thank you, President.
Thank you. Any other item, small question or removal from the consent? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I wasn't going to do this because I know I'm going to be the only no vote, but I'm going to pull 1510. I have to be able to sleep at night.
Would someone like to make a motion for the remaining parts of the consent agenda?
Madam President, I move the board approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 1510, which has been pulled.
Second,
Trustee Nava Flores.
yes.
And the consent agenda passes. So now we'll have a 16.1, which is the new 15 point, well, the new 15.10 is 16.1.
Right.
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay. So I had asked Dr. Clark about this, and so the answer was they were doing professional development, which, okay, so I went back and looked, but two of the professional development opportunities, one was with 10 students, and then there's another one July 28th and 29th that is with 50 students. So I was confused whether if they're doing professional, and it sounds like they're training these students to do another event, then they're interacting directly with our students. And as I've said every meeting, I think people that are doing that need to be fingerprinted, so I will be voting no. And that's it.
I'll just let the board know that they are not going to be alone with students. And again, they're doing professional development, and maybe students might be present while they're doing that professional development, but they're not going to be alone with students. And that's really who we need folks to be fingerprinted by if they're going to have direct access to students.
I'm just pausing to get, there we go. We're caught up. Thank you. So we just need a motion to vote on 16.1.
So I'll move item 16.1, which is a contract with with Ignite Consulting Services to be held at Pine Hollow Middle School.
Second.
May I ask a question?
Please.
So just to clarify, this will be held at Pine Hollow Middle School, and there will be certificated staff in attendance during this training.
That is correct.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
passes 3-1. Where are we? Oh, 18.0. Business.
And we have Ms. Sachs is going to be she already presented the LCAP plan at the last meeting. She's going to be looking for your approval, but she may have a couple words, or she may just be available for questions. Ms. Sachs.
Absolutely. Just a few words, Board of Trustees. So when you take a look at the summary for the local control accountability plan for this item, it does highlight 2 areas where we actually did make some revisions based on some public feedback. And I really do want to thank the community for providing us that information. Again, just to highlight the fact that the feedback we did receive is posted on our website under Get Involved, which is under Parents and Community. If you take a look at the local control accountability and you click on it, you'll be able to see copies of the draft as well as information about the feedback that we received.
Any questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move the board approve the 2023-2024 Local Control Accountability Plan as revised.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And I want to thank everyone that's worked on it.
Yeah, we've got ourselves an LCAP for next year. Thank you. 18.2.
So this is the budget, and I presented the budget at our last meeting. There were 2 questions from 2 of the trustees, and we sent responses to those questions the day after the meeting. And so we're asking for approval of our 2023-24 budget.
Any questions or further discussion?
I would make a motion to approve and adopt the 2023-2024 proposed budget.
Second.
And just a reminder that then we have 45 days when the actual state budget really is passed and signed to make any adjustments. So Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
And that passes. 18.3.
We have Dr. Aguili. I know she did a presentation at the last meeting, so she's just here to answer any questions. Dr. Aguili will make herself available, but we are asking for approval of the MDUSD SELPA's annual service plan and annual budget.
Any further questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I'll move that the board approve the Mount Diablo Unified SELPA local plan for 2023 to 24.
Second,
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
thank you. I know, I get to open a public hearing. Senate Bill 858, excess of minimum reserve requirements. Sorry, my agenda hasn't kept up. Da-da-da. I'm just waiting for it to see what now the thing changed. Sorry, that the agenda hasn't changed. Yeah, there's statement of balances. There's no public comment or anything. No hearing. I've closed the hearing. And now it's an action, which is to move to approve. Does anyone move to approve these balances in excess of minimum reserve requirements? The statement.
I make a motion that we approve the balances in excess of minimum reserve requirements and move to approve it as presented.
second,
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes. Thank you for that very brief public hearing. 18.5.
Yes, we're gonna bring Dr. Aguili back up, and we are going to have a presentation about diplomas.
Different one,
Not this one.
wrong one.
I could fit it in if you want. I couldn't, I really couldn't. Here we go. All right, so this is regarding the trailable language that passed at the end of last year about the alternative diploma for students with significant cognitive disabilities, which is how it's spelled out in the trailable language. Next slide, please. Oh, I have the clicker. I thought they would just click for me. I'm sorry, it's not, I'm new. So this started out with the vision from the Alternative Pathways Work Group. Again, we talked about this before, how the idea is that every student should go into high school knowing that they should have the ability to earn a high school diploma, whether that be at the end of high school or at the end of their bridge time. This does not end a student's ability to stay with us till they're 22. And so the tricky part is that now our students with significant cognitive disabilities, it's about 20 to 30 students a year district-wide, or 1% of our class. And they will actually be able to earn a diploma with the state minimum requirements, much like our migrant students, foster youth, homeless youth, and military youth. So what we've been working on is the state standards aligned coursework, and that's what's presented to you this evening. What also is coming forward in the trailer bill is there used to be a requirement that the families would have to be notified before grade 10, which would essentially kick this can down the road for several years. That has now been taken out of the trailer bill. The CalPADS codes have been updated, so this will be in effect for next year, which is why we're in such a speedy process to get this through to the board.
And again, we are going to align all of our work to the state standards. What we did is we took the dynamic learning maps, which are sort of essential standards, and then mapped our course of study to that. Here's what the sample course schedule would look like over a 4-year period. But again, some students may continue to take those classes through 4 years through Bridge. So if they don't go ahead and take their program at, so for example, government or econ, they would be able to take that later. There's no rush to them to get there through it in 4 years. The color coding here is because these are the new courses that we're bringing before you to adopt as a pilot for 1 year. And you can see that the VAP courses and electives are still would be the regular courses aligned, just like the students take now with the PE courses. What would be adapted is their actual core classes. And again, we don't want them to be aligned to A through G, which is why we're adopting this sequence. But we definitely want them to be representative also of what the students are going to be doing, rather than just putting through the regular courses. So what we're asking for is that we approve this set of courses for a 1-year pilot program. The reason why we want to do a 1-year pilot program is because nobody knows what this will look like in actual implementation, but we know we do have to comply with the current Ed Code 51225.31. And we also know that it's subject to change as we go forward. So the best way for us to do it is to do it. So, and then our next steps will be figuring out how to pace those courses over 5 years, over 8 years, sorry, which will be an IEP team decision. How to determine the students eligible to take the alternative assessment, because right now that's sort of a 1-page checklist. It's now turned into an 8-page process from the state, because really determining this eligibility for this alternative diploma now does come down to who is eligible for the alternative assessment. So it's a very big decision. Also looking at the benefits and potential harmful effects for the diploma, and looking at waivers. Students can already apply for a waiver through the State Board of Education, and we're looking at what that looks like, particularly for algebra, which was tough to adopt. If you've also read through the courses of study, actually our panel really struggled with history too, because some of the content may not be developmentally appropriate for where our students are. So trying to align those two things was a bit tricky. We also will need to consider moving forward what additional curriculum is needed for accessibility and on-ramps where our students are developmentally, while again addressing content. And watching to see what the state does right now. We do still have the option for certificate of completion, but we don't know if that will be phased out through the state. We do have training topics scheduled for our administrators on what the master schedule will look like. And also our special education teachers for how to determine things in the IEPs, universal design for learning to demonstrate mastery, understanding, and also presentation of materials, and really actually goal writing in specific content areas rather than essential life skills. To add to this, we did do 2 presentations for families in the spring, and we will repeat those in the fall so that families are also fully up to date on what's going on. So tonight we're asking for approval for the pilot courses for a period of 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like we have a public comment. And it's Dorothy. You didn't, or okay, I can put it on my pile, Laura.
Thank you. I'm not against this, so just want to say that. But I do have a lot of concerns. And so as the chairs of Community Advisory Committee and as a parent of a just graduated Bridge student that this would have affected to if he was younger, I want to be cognizant of our kids that are very intuitive, very smart, but maybe don't know how to read. And I don't see how this is going to help them. And until the state makes decisions on how it's going to affect their adult life, and having this, getting this diploma at 18 to, my concern is what, like Washington State has, they dumb it down every year until the kid can pass. And that's my fear of what's going to happen in California. And then you have kids sitting from 18 to 22 without services unless unless they go into the system of housing. But it's harder to get services. And so I want to be cognizant of, to this board, that I will be watching this and I want to see the curriculum myself. I think CAC should be intricate part of this adoptions for the school, for our school district, and for the state abroad. I'm going to be watching this very carefully. And like I said, my concern is for our extended needs students or severe. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Then we have an action to take to approve this course of study. Can I get a motion?
Just want to ask a question. Are we voting for receiving the information, or
Approval of that last slide, I think it was the last slide,
okay?
that had the different action steps to be taken, approving that we get to take those steps. Yeah, try it out for a year, figure it out. Can I get a motion?
Madam President, I'll move to approve piloting of the courses as presented.
A second.
I'll second the motion.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
18.6, we are taking action. Dyslexia screener.
Dr. Gili?
This is part of the dyslexia presentation that we made last time. We do have 2 contracts coming forward, one for the M-Class online Dibbles version, and then also it's not quite just online Dibbles, it's more than that. And this is the UCSF screener, which we've piloted at a variety of sites. And we will continue with the English version as a screener and continue to work with them on validating the Spanish language. And this is the UCSF screener coming forward.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the project in test, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong line. Approve the multitudes agreement for dyslexia screening.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you. 18.7, review and potential approval of the purchase of 4 electric passenger vans for CARES.
Do we have any questions on this item?
I would move to approve the purchase of 4 electric passenger vans for the CARES/expanded learning program.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes. 18.8, review potential approval to maintain the increased substitute teacher daily pay rate of pay.
Oh, we have Dr. Rubio here on this item. I was looking back, I saw Robert Humphrey so excited back there with the van thing. I was wondering if he's going to be, is he like a fill-in driver or something like that? I don't know. Sorry about that. I was distracted. All right. Dr. Rubio, do we still need, should we continue to have an increased rate of sub rate? Would that help?
Yes, I would say absolutely. We received a number of reports in the spring from happy teachers and school sites saying they've never seen this number and this high percentage of substitutes coming in. Based on what we attached in our double checking of the surrounding districts, we look to be still just about number one in the area. And so we like being in that position. And I think it's really helpful to our teachers and our schools. Typically, what we've also done is we've not let the higher substitute rate affect teachers who might be out on medical leave or differential pay leave. So I think we've been holding off on that for a year and a half to 2 years. So we're going to enter negotiations with Medea probably over the summer to start talking about that, because I'm not sure we can do that forever. But since it's costing us more for substitutes, but at any rate, we believe that the right thing to do is to keep this going.
Any questions, comments? Entertain a motion.
Madam President, I'll move to approve continuation of the current substitute teacher daily rate of pay until June 30th, 2024.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
that passes. 18.9, review and potential approval of updates to board policy 5111 and AR 5111 admission.
I'll say, Madam President, the next four items are board policies or administrative regulations that we've presented to this board for info, and now we're just looking for action. The next
Sure.
three items.
Thank you. If there are no further questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the updates to board policy 5111 and administrative regulation 5111. I don't know, admission. I'm not sure why it says that, but
Okay. A second, sorry.
Second.
Thank you. Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
all right. That passes. 18.10, review and potential approval of the update to AR 6164.4, referral for education services. Any comments or questions? If not, a motion.
make a motion to approve administrative regulation 6164.4 as presented.
Second.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
and that passes. 18.11, review and potential approval of updates to board policy 6173.1 and AR 6173.1, education of foster youth. Questions or comments or motion?
Madam President, I move that the board approve proposed changes to board policy 6173.1 and administrative regulation 6173.1, education of foster youth.
Second that.
Trustee Nava Flores,
Yes.
that again. Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. That passes. 18.12, review and potential approval of a 2% on schedule salary increase to the clerical secretarial and technical unit, Local 1 ASME CST, based attached memorandum of understanding.
Dr. Rubio was going to present this item. It's I don't know, this is a bit of good news here on this, at this late hour. So Dr. Rubio, tell us how we got here.
Thank you so much. It is really good news. We technically weren't open for negotiations at this time of year with the Clerical Secretarial Technical Unit, CST. We were very happy that they were willing to consider some contract changes. We continue to see our classified bargaining units, CSEA, CST, and just last week, Teamsters work collaboratively with us. They don't tend to dig in. They don't sort of go to some extreme positions in their thinking, and we can work together. And I appreciate the movement. CSEA, as you may recall, back in January, we were at a certain percentage, and then we said, well, what about if we make a few more changes in the contract and we'll go higher? And they said, let's do it. We got them to 20%, and they were well deserved because they were the lowest paid unit. CST coming back, having conversation with them. We said, look, we're interested in some different things that have not changed over many years. Are you willing to do that and collaborate with us and exchange that in return for us considering going a little higher for this year retroactively? And they said yes. And so we were able to, we didn't get everything we wanted. They didn't get everything they wanted. It's negotiations the way it goes, but it was collaborative. And just last week, we've been working with the Teamsters unit. So I just can't help but continue to compliment our classified units. I wish it was the case with our certificated unit. It's not the same environment. It's not the same type of thinking. We did engage in conversations with Medea back in January and February to try to do something. They seemed very interested. They drafted some things, and then suddenly they said, you know what, we're not going to do any contract changes. We just want the money. And so we had to stop. So they didn't want the money. CST, I'm happy I can give you money, 2% retroactive before you tonight for your approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? No, hearing none.
Madam President, I move the board approve the 2% on schedules salary increase to the Clerical, Secretarial, and Technical Unit, Local 1, AFSCME, CST, based on the memorandum of understanding dated May 30th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah,
Rubio.
Thank you so much. (18.13) Review and potential approval for the authorization of the superintendent to make interim appointments and board authorizations in advance of the board meeting on August 16th, 2023.
Yes, Madam President, we're, again, we have interviews scheduled for tomorrow. We're not going to be able to, if we make an offer tomorrow, we're not going to come back together as a board. So I'm asking for this board to provide me with the authorization to make interim job offers and hires in the absence of our holding these regular scheduled meetings.
Any questions or concerns or a motion?
Make a motion to approve authorization of the superintendent to make interim appointments, create full-time equivalent, approve provisional internship permits, variable team waivers, and board authorization under Ed Code 44256B and Ed Code 442582 in advance of the board meeting on August 16th, 2023.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
I just read what it said.
Yeah. There, now he has, superintendent has all the power over the summer. That passes. I know. And finally, 18.14, review and potential approval of the revised secondary supplemental reading materials list.
Good
Not
evening.
least.
Good evening, board trustees and Superintendent Dr. Clark. I think you all have access to all of the materials for our supplemental reading lists. And so just wanted to make sure that I was available for any questions that you might have. Go ahead and talk very briefly about where we are, because this is an annual process. You're all very familiar with it at this point, and just wanted to make sure that you understand the process. And if you have any questions, here I am.
Thank you. I really appreciate that it is revisited, that we're in this very new tradition of revisiting every year.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, and if you want more information, it's redlined very clearly. So if you wanted to ask any questions, that's available as well.
So I just, we had a discussion just, and maybe you could just talk to us about the process of going from teachers are strongly encouraged to teachers shall. Maybe you could just talk about how the committee came to that.
Yeah, so the committee, this is, no one ever does anything alone. We insist that this is a community effort, and our committee came together and thought last year was sort of like a pilot year where we were giving that kind of grace where you get the titles, start lining up where they should be, and then using that first year as that moment of trying it out. And then we're pushing forward with a firmness that we shall, because we believe that this is the right thing to do. So we did go from may to shall.
And it sure ensures every student has, no matter their teacher, gets to have access to something from these lists.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Trustee Mason, I saw you reach.
Here's my concern.
Okay.
Anything like this. We're all sitting here today, but you could have a very different board in the future that goes the exact opposite way
It's true.
and says these things shall not be in our schools. So I hesitate to dictate from an election position what kids will read and not read, for the better or the worse. I think that lies with the principals at the school, that if they see teachers that are refusing to include these other categories that we as a district and a board value and are suggesting, that's where it should be handled. But I just think it's too easy to, when you think it's your way, it's a great idea. And then all of a sudden, when Ms. DeSantis is sitting here and says you can't teach this, it's not such a good idea anymore. So for that, I would vote no, just because the pendulum always swings both ways.
This is true. And I will comment that we did have principals on the team, on the committee. So it was definitely that voice and the representation was there.
We
But I
also
appreciate
did have
your
students too.
Sorry.
We also had students. Yes, I was there.
I think, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Unlike DeSantis or Ms. DeSantis, this shall doesn't limit any book. It says that they shall pick at least one, and it doesn't limit. Teachers may select books beyond the minimum requirement from any listed category. So that's the major difference, is that we haven't cut off any reading material. We've expanded it. In fact.
Yeah, but you could always say, we're only going to read evangelist Christian books. We shall only read those. It can work that way.
It can, but that's not what this says, I guess, is what I'm saying. And that's the difference, because shall read evangelical Christian books is limiting all other choices, and this in no way limits all other choices. Trustee Mayo.
I was just going to ask if you would share how the information is shared with parents.
With the community, we'll be using the website, and then also this information will be shared with principals and subsequently department chairs.
Okay. And then how are parents informed what materials their teachers select, their students' teachers select?
At the beginning of each year, syllabi are handed out by teachers at back to school night and also online. So those would be some expectations that we would have, that this would be very clearly outlined in each teacher's syllabus.
And if a parent had a concern, what steps does the parent take at that point?
We would use all the board policy procedures, which are which are outlined. I think it's in, I'm not sure, Jen, 1600. Yeah, so it's outlined in the 1600. I can get that more information for you on that, but we would definitely turn to board policy on that.
And then if parents wanted to opt their student out of a particular reading item, what would happen then?
We would work with principals at the site to work with the teacher and at the site level to make sure that that's handled with the parents.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Or guardians, families. Good questions. And it's not, this isn't supposed to be, I should say, this isn't supposed to be easy.
Trustee, I know.
I want to say that I think that this guidance has been really important. And it's something that I noticed when I was teaching at Mount Diablo High School is lacking. At most schools in the area where I've taught, I've been asked to teach, like, say, a multicultural text, at a certain grade level. In Akalani's, I pick from a list like this every year, in 3 different categories. So I think this is very familiar. And I really see this as an expansion of the curriculum. And I also, I have heard, and I'm curious, just for my own information, I've heard that it's a much more straightforward process to add a text than to remove a text or to limit text. And I'm just curious if that's something that you know about and would be willing to speak to, just for our information.
So for weeding, we would want to bring in our teacher librarians in a very deep way. I do have thoughts on how we would want to start the weeding process. I'm not looking to do that in the year to come, but that would be also a committee decision if we were ready to go ahead and do that. Yes, and you're right. The weeding process is more intense than the adding.
Thank you.
Just really quick, echoing what Trustee McFerrin said. Like at Mount Diablo High School, sometimes I also feel that we lack this, and which is why I was a part of this work, and I'm really proud of this coming to the board. But a concern that I shared with you is more of in the classroom itself, the way that we are going to discuss about certain issues. And again, you mentioned how we're going to reflect on board policies of equity and anti-bias and anti-racism. But just kind of saying it for the public to hear, for our teachers that are teaching this, of let's say we are talking for representative multicultural authors, if we're talking about immigration, making sure that before we have this talk, we are able to be in a safe space where students can feel safe, feel welcomed, and not having to feel isolated or like the only one. But that is more practices. This is the curriculum, and I'm really excited for this. And I really love how you added the LGBTQIA. Thank you.
That was committee work.
Thank you.
Like I said, no one does it alone. So yeah, we're proud of it.
Thank you.
I'm very excited for the shell as a parent, as my child this year read Animal Farm, Of Mice and Men, and Romeo and Juliet, all books I was required to read, and I'm pretty old, and all books my mother read. There's been a lot of literature written sometime between, Shakespeare and today, and that shell didn't exist this year. So that teacher didn't have to choose something different. I wish the list isn't in front of me, so I can't choose a book, but I'm like thinking of all the amazing books I've read since graduating high school, all the amazing books that have been written in just the last year, the amazing books that my child has enjoyed as she's grown into a reader and reading young adult, novels and whatnot and literature. And so I'm very excited for what that would mean for our students to have that, and teachers still being able to teach Romeo and Juliet, Animal Farm, and Of Mice and Men if they choose, in addition to these very representative texts.
I have a question for our board member over there, Trustee Navia Flores. In listening to your comment, which I value very highly, about the comfort level, how do you think it would play out, though, if it's a teacher that's resistant and now is feeling like they're forced to pick one of these books? You're in the classroom every day. How do you see that playing out?
Could you clarify? Could you
Well,
clarify?
say there are teachers out there, I'm hearing what I hear from parents, and they're not choosing to go to any other category but the traditional one. So say a teacher now, because of this, says, okay, now I have to entertain this book that I don't believe in. how do you see that playing out with, because I know I've seen the other side. Our kids don't have a comfort level with what they're being taught, but when the teacher doesn't have a comfort level, how do you think that will affect a kid feeling safe in the classroom? And I will tell you, I'm leaning toward not letting the perfect get in the way of the good on this and maybe changing my vote. I just am curious.
So what I'm hearing is more of if the teacher refuses to pick, let's say from category 2 and 3, how does that make the student feel itself?
No, if they're forced to now.
They're doing it begrudgingly, like they don't want to teach this, but I have
And so
to
how is
because
this
it's
going
a
to affect the student itself?
Well, how is that going to affect how safe I'm
The
afraid that it'll be
safety
handled
side.
in a very negative way,
Mhm.
which then you talked about being able to feel safe in the classroom
Mhm.
and heard and
Mhm.
valued.
Well, like you said, there are some educators that are against this, and I've had interactions with them. Fortunately, I haven't had these teachers, but definitely, like if we kind of go back with this with like the ethnic studies, for example, we do have a lot of teachers that are against it, but we have more teachers that are with it. But that as a student of color, it kind of echoes back with what is my role in your classroom? How do you see me? How do you value me in my education? And so like Mrs. Hartwig mentioned, bringing in the board policy. As a student board member, I know that we have an equity policy. I know that we have these things set in place so that I am guaranteed the education that I'm being promised. But if I wasn't in this position, I would feel very, like you said, unwelcomed. And I would feel as if there's nothing else to do but to suck it up. And that's what historically we've been told to do, to just be silent and just go along with it. And so what I would suggest is for the students to always advocate for themselves, to bring this to the principals, to bring this to another teacher that perhaps they're closer with and can kind of seek some guidance. So I think with this, to make sure that doesn't happen, maybe having a discussion with all of our English teachers in the high school, middle school, and elementary school levels, and kind of giving them any sort of cultural competency trainings, anti-bias and anti-racism trainings, and ensuring that when they're in the classroom and making an impact on our students' lives and their safety, they are aware of the way that their approach is coming. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So I think very much which is really, really important, not just with this, but also with other things that we're trying to implement, as our district is a really progressive district, making sure that we are able to provide these trainings, provide this education. And one thing that we learned in our ethnic studies class is that no one here knows everything. We are all learning together. So if the teacher, for example, refuses to say this, if the students want this and are demanding for it, they're able to unionize and demand for it and have come to some sort of agreement. But for that to happen, I think the steps that we can take is providing that training for all of our teachers, and not just the one-day thing. Periodically throughout the year, making sure we're having these check-ins. And with the student advisory committee, we do plan on being really vocal about what we do and the work that we stand for, and recruiting students and making sure that we are in each high school, we are in each middle school and elementary school. And if anything like this happens, well, you have a SAC representative. You can let them know, then they're connecting to the student board member and we can bring it up here.
Something if I can add, thank you so much for those words. Wow, extremely powerful. Through the process, there was quite a bit of an inventorying that was done. So as we took a look at the old list, and the committee actually took a look at the old novel list, they were able to take it, identify those titles that they wanted to move forward with, and then organize them by categories. What folks kind of found out, there were a lot of titles and authors that actually they'd been utilizing year after year, and they actually have in their libraries and their storerooms that did fit into different categories. So it wasn't all new. It's not going to be all new and all different. They've also done quite a bit of their own inventorying with regards to what novels in textbooks, or I'm sorry, titles do they want to purchase. And we've identified a funding source in order to make sure that our schools have access to it. And what that also means is they're working together. They're working together as departments, English 1 courses, English, 8. So we really feel that, or I know that the committee has worked very, very closely together with their peers to make sure this is not going to be such a very, a tight process, or a process that is not being eased into over the last year, but actually probably more year and a half. But there's opportunities to work as course alikes, grade level alikes, as well as department chairs taking the lead on this. So again, we meet the goal and at the same time provide that level of coaching and support for some of our instructors that might need a little bit of TLC as they're moving into choosing novel. They're all used to choosing novels, but kind of moving over through the continuum into the different areas.
One more addition and then I'm going to stop talking entirely. But I wanted to also say that all of the lists were open to public comment, and we call it public comment, but really we're putting it out to teachers. So they all have that opportunity to add, subtract, make, suggestions. So, and then we go through and we resolve them with the best fidelity that we're able to do. So these lists are put out and, given to our teaching community so that they have access to it ahead of time.
I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I will move to approve the revised secondary supplemental reading materials list.
Second.
Thank you. Trustee Nava Flores.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you thank you trustees for the contemplative discussion. Thank you all, like the whole community who figured this out. And wait, I closed it before I made sure. That is the end until August. Have a great summer.